Discover the incredible, hidden stories of how poor families survived harsh winters in the 1700s. The wind howled like a pack of wolves on the hunt, slicing through the trees and biting at the cheeks of all who dared venture out. In the heart of colonial America, beneath a sky shrouded by heavy gray clouds, lived Sarah, a spirited widow in her late 30s, worn but fierce, who braved the unforgiving winter of 1775. Alone with her 3 children, she pushed through each day on her meager farm, the weight of survival heavy on her shoulders. The bitter cold seeped into her bones, but she drew strength from her kids' innocent laughter, a sound that danced like a flicker of candlelight against the frost. Life in their small village had grown distant and unkind. Whispers trailed behind Sarah like a shadow, murmurs of loss and poverty that lingered in the corners of the bustling market. Yet, her spirit refused to wane. She tilled the soil with stubborn dedication, her hands raw and chapped from the elements, but her heart warm with hope. Each morning, she'd watch the sun rise, its light fighting through the frost, reminding her that resilience lay not just in her hands but also within her soul as the winter deepened. A sudden blizzard enveloped the town, turning the world into a silent, white prison. People huddled in their homes, denied the luxury of escape. Yet, for Sarah, isolation was no option. She gathered her children, pulled her thick shawl tight, and with determination, she ventured into the storm. The wind whipped at her face as she navigated through heavy snow, the crunch of the flakes beneath her boots echoing in the stillness. "Help!" came a cry from a neighboring cabin. It was Mrs. Hargrove, elderly and frail, struggling to gather wood. The bitter chill gnawed at the townsfolk, yet Sarah's heart ignited with a fire of compassion. "Hold tight. I've got you," she called, rushing to help. That day, as they battled the relentless snowfall together, a camaraderie blossomed like early spring flowers breaking through the frost. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As residents emerged from their seclusion to lend a hand, a sense of belonging began to weave through the air, stronger than the winds that threatened to tear them apart. Together, they forged a bond, sharing warmth from their homes and mending the cracks of loneliness. They crafted a plan to build a communal shelter, a place where no family would feel alone. Just as hope flickered like a lantern in the dark, the wealthy landowner, Mr. Bradley, came storming through the gathering, fists full of threats. "You," he shouted, pointing a finger at Sarah. "This place is a disgrace. I'll not see it crumble under your poor maintenance." Panic rippled through the crowd, hearts thumping in rhythm with Sarah's treacherous breath. But then, amidst the tension, her adopted child, Oliver, who had felt like an outsider until this moment, clutched a wooden toy he had carved. In that instant, Sarah realized Oliver's worth could be the answer to their problems, not just for her family, but for the entire town. Would they discover the strength to unite, to embrace not just Sarah, but every thread of their community's tapestry? The swirling snow outside foreshadowed the storm facing their hearts. Would they let old grudges consume them, or find warmth in togetherness? A hush fell over the crowd as silence stretched like the snow blanketing the ground. Sarah's heart raced. She could see the anxiety etched on the faces around her. People glanced at one another, worry flickering like shadows in their eyes. Would they allow Mr. Bradley's harsh words to splinter their unity? Enough! Sarah finally found her voice, steady and determined. "We're in this together. If we let him divide us, then winter will win." Her words cut through the frigid air, igniting a flame of resolve within the hearts of her neighbors. One by one, heads began to nod. The sounds of agreement spread like wildfire. "We are stronger together," said John, a burly farmer with a gentle spirit. "Let us show him that we can do better." They began to rally behind Sarah, inspired by her passion. Oliver, standing resolutely beside her, felt a surge of pride. He might have been an orphan, but in this moment he felt like part of something greater. He lifted his carved toy, a small wooden soldier adorned with makeshift colors. "If we work together, we can build something amazing," he shouted, his voice ringing clear like the church bell on Sundays. The crowd erupted in cheers. The warmth of their spirits held off the cold, thawing the ice of fear. Sarah's eyes glimmered with tears of gratitude as she looked at Oliver, the boy she loved as her own. He was brave, carrying a heart that beat for community despite the hardships they had faced. With newfound determination, the villagers formed teams. They gathered hastily, their breath creating clouds in the freezing air as they decided how to allocate resources. Some gathered supplies while others hunted for timber. Sarah led a group to clear a central area where the communal shelter would rise. The laughter of children mingled with the shouts of adults, and for the first time in a long while, hope soared high above the trees. Days turned into nights filled with hard work. Each person brought their unique skills, bartering not just for materials but for stories and warmth that nourished the spirit. Mrs. Hargrove brought her secret spice blend to warm their meals. Young ladies knitted blankets as small children handed out hot soup, their hands barely gripping the bowls. But even amidst this unity, old tensions rested like embers beneath the surface. Mr. Bradley continued to cast a looming shadow, lurking around and watching every effort with disdain. Sarah felt like a thorn deep in his side, the very thing he wished to uproot. Still, the shelter began to take form, each nail hammered representing another step toward survival and a renewed sense of family. As the last nail was pounded in place, the townsfolk squeezed together beneath the humble roof, their faces glowing with gratitude and determination. Yet in the back of Sarah's mind, doubt nagged at her. Would their effort be enough to hold off the unforgiving winter? And what would happen when the snow melted and Mr. Bradley retaliated? She gazed into the faces of her children, whispers of love and courage murmuring within her heart. But there were many challenges ahead, ones that even the strongest shelters might not withstand. Just then, a chill swept through the shelter as the door creaked open. A figure appeared in the doorway, casting an ominous shadow in the dim light. It was Mr. Bradley, and this time he didn't come with threats or just empty words. This time, he held something in his hand. What was his next move? Would he unite them or tear them apart once more? The air thickened as Mr. Bradley stepped inside, the door groaning behind him. He was different now, less the towering figure of disdain and more like a man who had come bearing a burden. The rhythmic pulse of Sarah's heart raced in her ears. The villagers, huddled close together, exchanged wary glances, unsure whether to welcome him or drive him away. "Sarah," he began, his voice unexpectedly subdued. The weight of his words hung in the air, drawing everyone's attention. "I didn't come to argue today." He stopped, glancing around at the tense faces. "I came to offer something." He extended his hand, revealing a bundle, heady aromas wafting into the shelter. The villagers leaned closer, curiosity piqued. It was food-dried meat, jars of pickled vegetables, even some hard bread. Moments of hushed whispers filled the space as they processed what they saw. "What's the catch?" Sarah asked, her voice steady but tinged with skepticism. "Why now, Mr. Bradley? You've never shown any kindness before." He let out a heavy sigh, the lines on his face deepening. "The truth is, circumstances have changed. I've seen how stubborn this winter can be. I know it feels as though it's pressing down on us all." His eyes flickered with something deeper, something almost human. "I can't survive alone, nor can I afford to let anyone else perish." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Sarah felt a mixture of surprise and confusion. Was this truly a gesture of peace, or a manipulative ploy aimed to chip away at their unity? "We can't just take your food," John interjected, his brow furrowing. "You haven't been on our side before. How can we trust you?" Bradley's jaw tightened. "I can't change the past, but perhaps this is my chance to change the future." His words danced precariously on the edge of trust. Sarah watched the exchange closely. The villagers were hungry, not just for food, but for hope, a chance to survive. It wasn't just the cold that plagued them. It was the fear that they might not be stronger than the weather, or Mr. Bradley's vindictiveness. "I don't know how to feel about this," she finally said, voice steady despite the whirlwind in her heart. "But if we accept your offer, it has to come with an understanding. You have to join us fully. This community can't stand divided." "Not now." Mr. Bradley's gaze held hers for a moment longer than necessary. "Fine," he declared, an air of defiance mingling with the reluctant acceptance in his eyes. "I'll help you build this shelter. We can work together." The crowd hesitated, their hopes entwined with fear and disbelief. Oliver, whose small frame trembled with anxiety, stepped forward. "People can change," he said softly, eyes shining with innocence. "Maybe he really wants to help." A collective inhalation swept through the group as the villagers wrestled with their conflict. It was a dance of emotions, wanting to embrace the possible warmth of unity but wary of the bitter chill of betrayal. As they pondered the implications of their choices, a new wind howled outside, the darkness pressing closer. The first snowflakes began to fall, spiraling from the clouds like whispers of impending change. Could Sarah's broken trust be mended? Could they find strength together? Or would their fragile hopes be buried under the weight of a treacherous winter? In that moment, standing amid the encroaching darkness and uncertainty, a feeling surged within Sarah. She could either close her heart or risk it all by opening the door to possibility, one way or another. She took a breath, ready to decide. The weight of the moment loomed heavy. Would she let Mr. Bradley's offer dictate their fate, or would there be another way forward that nobody yet dared to imagine? Sarah felt all eyes on her as she grappled with the decision that lay before them. The crackling fire flickered across her face, emphasizing the anxious creases on her brow. The wind howled outside, but the warmth of the shelter felt stifling against the chill of uncertainty. "Are we really going to trust him?" Mary whispered, her voice barely audible over the crackle of the flames. "After everything?" "I don't know," Sarah admitted, shaking her head. "But we're running out of options. We need food, and winter doesn't show mercy." Mr. Bradley shifted on his feet, his bundle still clutched tightly in his hands. He seemed smaller somehow, less threatening in the dim light. There was a glimmer of desperation in his eyes that pulled at Sarah's caution. Could he truly be reaching out for help? Or was he planning something darker? The villagers murmured among themselves, the tension rising like the smoke from the fire. Sarah felt the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. In the silence that followed, she took a step forward. "What do you all think? Should we give him a chance?" A ripple of voices surged through the crowd. Some echoed her sentiments of understanding, while others remained staunch in refusing to let go of the past. "We've worked too hard to build this community," John argued, fists clenched tightly. "We can't let him tear us apart again." With every frustrated plea, Sarah's resolve grew stronger. "It's true we've come far. But what if this is the turn we need? If he really means to help?" The idea resonated with Oliver, whose trust had not yet been marred by the scars of past betrayal. "People can change," he boldly stated again, this time louder. "I believe he wants to try." As the discussion intensified, Sarah felt her heart race. She knew change was often terrifying, but stagnation was a curse. Swallowing hard, she turned her gaze directly to Mr. Bradley. "What happens now, then? If we choose to accept your help?" Mr. Bradley's expression softened. "You have my word. I'll do whatever it takes to help rebuild your trust. But we need to act quickly before the full force of winter hits." His urgency echoed the bleak reality surrounding them. The wind howled again, a sharp reminder of the time slipping away. Everything suddenly felt larger, each breath trembled with significance. The villagers looked to one another, weighing each heart against countless memories of hardship and hope. Finally, the crowd began to murmur in agreement. Hesitantly, like flowers unfurling towards the sun, they nodded one by one, tentative but willing to believe. Relief washed over Sarah, but it was mingled with trepidation. "All right," she said, each word weighted with gravity. "We'll accept your food. But you must truly join us. No more walls between our lives." Mr. Bradley's eyes flickered with something akin to gratitude, or perhaps disbelief. I understand. I promise to earn your trust. As the villagers gathered around him, the first flakes of snow continued to dance down from the sky, swirling like the soft whispers of hope. Together, they would build a shelter, a fortress against the unforgiving cold. The moment felt pivotal. An ember of something new began to flicker in that warm, cluttered room, entwining their fates under shared risks. With this decision set in motion, it felt as though a new story had begun. But deep within Sarah lingered a question that would not fade. Was this truly the right path, or were they walking straight into the jaws of betrayal? As they stepped into the next chapter of their lives, the blizzard howled ominously outside, igniting fears and fantasies within each heart. What awaited them on the horizon, twisted and hidden beneath layers of snow, remained a mystery. The biting cold intensified outside, yet inside the fragile comfort of their makeshift sanctuary, an uneasy quiet settled. The villagers had formed a tight circle around Mr. Bradley, who was still trying to connect with them amidst the shadows of doubt. Sarah could feel their collective anxiety, the weight of every shared memory pressing against her. "Let us get started," Oliver proposed, breaking the silence. His enthusiasm sparked some nods among the villagers, the flickering flames illuminating all their faces, each a mask of hope and hesitation. "Right," Sarah replied, trying to muster confidence through the haze of uncertainty. "Let us see what you've brought, Mr. Bradley." With a hesitance that mirrored her own, Mr. Bradley unwrapped his bundle. Inside, exposed to the fire's glow, lay an array of food-dried meats, root vegetables, bags of grain. It wasn't much, but it shimmered with the promise of sustenance. "I know it's not a feast," he said, his voice tinged with embarrassment, "but it's enough for a few days, maybe a week if we ration it well." Sarah glanced around the circle, watching their expressions shift from skepticism to hunger. "We'll need to spread this out among everyone. Nobody should go without." John, arms crossed, still looked unsure. "How do we know this is all of it? You could be hiding more or worse, poisoning us." His words hung heavy in the air. "Trust is built on transparency," Sarah said, sensing the stirring tension. "Let us measure it out together. It might not be too late to come together if we all partake." With every slice of meat and every scoop of grain, Sarah's heart thudded louder. Would they all sit at the same table? Could they extend that fragile thread of trust? As the food was divided among them, children's laughter suddenly bubbled up from the corner, breaking the tension. The little ones who had gathered nearby were making snowballs and tossing them playfully. For a brief moment, the sound felt like a lifeline, reminding Sarah of the innocence they were fighting to protect. But the laughter was short-lived. A gust of wind rattled the door, and the children fell silent, staring at the wooden barrier as if it were the source of their fears. "Hey, look at this," Oliver called, holding up a small sack of dried beans, his face breaking into a genuine smile. "We can plant these come spring. We could grow enough food to last through winter next year." Hope sparked again, spreading warmth into the corners of their hearts. Yet Sarah couldn't shake her unease. "And what if winter claims it's due before we can plant?" Mr. Bradley cleared his throat. "Then I'll do everything I can to protect you. I swear it." His earnest gaze swept across the room, meeting every eye. The sincerity in his voice was enough to give Sarah pause. How had they ended up in a room where they were considering trusting him? Just then, a heavy knock echoed against the door, reverberating through the quiet. All eyes turned toward it, fear seeping back into the air. "What now?" Mary asked, her voice barely a whisper, her knuckles white against the rough wood of her chair. The group held its breath, a moment stretched thin with uncertainty. "Perhaps it's just the wind," but Sarah's voice trailed off, drowned out by the ominous silence that answered her .1 heartbeat too, and then someone shouted, "Open it." With shaky hands, Sarah approached. Who would be standing outside in a storm? The door creaked slowly, and her heart raced. As it swung open, the blast of cold air rushed in, and they were met not with a face she recognized, but a silhouette cloaked in darkness, holding something that appeared to glimmer in the dim light. Fear and curiosity warred within her, But one question echoed louder than all others. What now? Because whatever lay beyond that door could change everything they had just built, or shatter it entirely. A flash of light danced in the air, illuminating the figure that stood shivering before them. The cold gust swept in, rustling through the hair and clothes of the villagers. Sarah squinted, trying to make out the silhouette. The dim glow from the fire barely cut through the darkness that surrounded this newcomer. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to call out, her voice steadier than she felt. The shadow didn't move immediately, letting the silence hang thick around them. "Please, I'm not here to hurt anyone." The figure finally spoke, their voice hoarse yet urgent. As they stepped closer, the flickering flames revealed a young woman, her face drawn and pale. In her hands, she clutched a small bundle, wrapped in tattered fabric, stained and fraying. "What do you want?" John interjected, the tension in his stance betraying his unease. The others shifted, a buzz of apprehension rising in the air. "My name is Anna," the woman said, her breath forming clouds in the cold. "I was caught in the storm. I've been searching for anyone." Her eyes darted around the room, locking onto Sarah's. "You have to help me. I have something important." "What could you possibly have that would mean anything right now?" Mary's voice trembled as she stepped forward, protective instincts flaring. Anna hesitated, the weight of her next words pressing down like fresh snow. This is the last of what we had." She held up the bundle, her fingers wrinkling the cloth. "It's not just food. Could save us all." Curiosity mixed with doubt nestled in everyone's minds. Mr. Bradley took a tentative step forward, trying to project calm amidst the chaos. "Show us." With a shuddering breath, Anna unfolded the fabric, revealing a small pouch of seeds and a handful of small, flattened pieces that glimmered silver in the firelight. "Silver?" Oliver asked, stepping closer, his brow furrowed. "Do you mean it's real?" Anna nodded. "I didn't know it was there until I found it while digging. My family kept it hidden. With this, we could trade for supplies, seeds, anything." She paused, determination twisting her features. "It could be our way to build a future to survive this winter." The air turned still, the implications swirling through the room. Hope flickered on the edge of their fear, drawing reluctant gasps. Could they trust this stranger? Could they trust the idea that something so small could restore their world? Sarah, Mr. Bradley's voice drifted through her thoughts, a whisper against her resolve. "What do we do?" She felt the weight of their gazes upon her, their hopes dangling from a thread. On one hand, there was the seeds of possibility, a future that echoed their recently rekindled hopes. On the other, a caution that screamed, "Never trust someone unproven." Sarah began slowly, her mind racing. "What do you need from us?" Anna took a step forward, determination burning in her eyes. "I need everyone to believe. Together we can make a plan, use the seeds wisely, trade our way through this. If we stick together, we can fight this winter." Hope and fear intermingled as the villagers considered the risks. Could they pull together again? Months of winter lay stretched before them like an unyielding promise. "What if," Sarah said, struggling to voice her own doubts, "what if we can't survive? What if trusting you means failure?" Anna's gaze remained unwavering. "Then we'll face it together, just as you did tonight." Moments passed, eyes locked together, hearts racing. With a deep breath, Sarah felt the strands of doubt beginning to unravel. "If we're going to trust you," she said, letting the words hang in the air like a fragile note, "we need to discuss this plan as a village." Determination wrestled with fear as they began to form tentative alliances. Just as hope dared to settle in, the wind howled once more, shaking the door. The flames flickered ominously, shadows dancing menacingly around them. Then came another loud bang, this time from the back of the sanctuary. All heads turned, gasping, hearts pounding. "Who else is there?" Someone whispered, dread sinking like a stone. Because it seemed there. Night was far from over and the darkness was still waiting. The door rattled again, and a collective gasp rippled through the group. Anna tightened her grip on the bundle, eyes wide with apprehension. The tension in the room thickened, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Stay close, Sarah whispered to Oliver, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She stepped toward the door, her instincts sharpening. The darkness beyond seemed alive, waiting for an opportunity to spill into their fragile sanctuary. Maybe it's just the wind, John said, though his voice lacked conviction. The sound of another thud silenced him, and the villagers huddled together, eyes darting to the shadows. Help! A voice came as a trembling whisper from outside. It was faint, carried on the gusts like a distant ship's horn. The villagers exchanged anxious glances, hearts racing. Who is it? Mr. Bradley called out, his tone more commanding than uncertain. It's me, the voice cried, urgent and desperate. I'm lost, please. I need help. Without waiting for permission, Sarah turned the knob. She swung the door open just a crack, enough to peer into the swirling snow. A figure was crouched low, half hidden by the storm. Come in, Sarah shouted, heart racing with both fear and an aching kindness. Quickly, the figure stumbled forward, falling onto the threshold. Sarah pulled them in, feeling their icy skin against her. It was a boy, no older than 12, his cheeks frostbitten and eyes wide with terror. Thank you, he murmured, shaking uncontrollably. The villagers gathered around, their concerns spilling over into murmurs of potential danger and strange coincidences. What happened? Anna asked, kneeling beside him. Where are your people? The boy took a shuddering breath. I was with my family. We got separated in the snow. I thought I could find the way back, but it just got worse. Tears glistened in his eyes, and he hugged himself tightly, trying to ward off the chill that had seeped into his bones. Please, I don't want to be alone. Even amidst the turmoil, Sarah felt a surge of compassion. You're safe now. You're with us. She looked around at the group, their faces softening with empathy rather than fear. Let us get him warm, Mary said. He must be freezing. The villagers quickly gathered blankets, wrapping the boy snugly while murmurs of comfort enveloped him. For a moment, the air filled with warmth, overshadowing their earlier anxiety. Do you have anything to eat? The boy asked, his voice small as he glanced up. The villagers shared guilty looks. The supplies were sparse, and they all felt the weight of their hunger. Anna shifted the bundle she carried. We have seeds, she said quietly, but it's not enough for everyone. I can share them, the boy said, his eyes suddenly lighting up with determination. We can plant them. It'll help us all. His enthusiasm was infectious. Hope stirred, a soft light in their darkened hearts. Just as old fears began to ebb, the shadows outside shifted. Another thundering sound echoed through the cold night air. The villagers froze, an icy dread clutching at their stomachs. Something was out there. What was that? Oliver whispered, and for the first time, they all felt the weight of the storm around them, not just the wind, but a sense of something looming, something waiting. Anna took a deep breath, her resolve firming. We can't let fear stop us. We came together tonight for a reason. If we stand together, whatever is out there can't touch us. But what if it gets inside? Sarah asked, her heart racing again. Anna tightened her jaw, looking fierce. Then we fight. Together. The villagers looked at one another, hearts thundering, each weighing their past against the flickers of a brighter future. Would they be brave enough to hold the doors against the night? The cold wind howled again, shaking the walls of their shelter and sending a shiver through everyone gathered. In that moment of uncertainty, a thought began to take root. What if their greatest challenge wasn't just nature, but the fear that came along with it? The next sound that came was the sharp crack of wood, a desperate reminder of their reality. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the doorway, blocking out the feeble light. What now? Someone cried, eyes darting. And then the figure began to step inside. As the figure moved into the dim light, everyone held their breaths, hearts pounding in unison. The shadow revealed a tall man, worn and ragged, his clothes tattered as if they had weathered countless storms. His face was gaunt, hints of desperation clouding his weary eyes. Snowflakes melted on his hair, creating a stark contrast against the intensity of his gaze. Please, he panted, his voice hoarse. I need shelter. I was caught out there. Come in, Sarah exclaimed, stepping back to accommodate him. The man stumbled forward, warm air rushing against his skin, but his eyes darted nervously around the room, assessing the villagers with suspicion. "What's your name?" Mr. Bradley asked, a mix of authority and concern lacing his words. "Jacob," he replied, his shoulders slumping with relief as the door shut behind him. "I was on my way to find help when the storm hit. I didn't know where to turn." His voice broke, revealing the weight of exhaustion and fear. "Have a seat," Mary offered, her motherly instincts kicking in. She motioned toward a corner, where a few wooden chairs surrounded a dimly flickering lantern. As he sank into the chair, the warmth of their fire began to envelop him like a comforting hug. "Do you have any family?" Anna's voice trembled slightly, bringing all eyes toward Jacob. For a moment, silence stretched between them like an unspoken bond of shared hardship. "No," he whispered, looking away. "Just some friends I thought would be near. But I lost them in the storm." The boy who had been rescued moments before had been listening, sadness clouding his small features. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I lost my family too." Jacob turned to him, a flicker of recognition lighting his gaze. "We're all lost together then. But we'll make it. Somehow." Their shared pain transformed the atmosphere. The villagers exchanged glances, and an unspoken agreement began to form between them, binding them closer with the knowledge that in their struggle, they had each other. Suddenly, another loud thud against the door echoed through the cabin. Panic surged. The villagers tensed, muscles coiled like springs. "Is it the storm?" Oliver asked, his voice small. "Could be anything," John responded, eyes wide. Jacob stood up in an instant, the weight of his previous weariness cast aside. "Whatever it is, we need to be ready." With a determined look, he moved close to the door, positioning himself against it. The group instinctively gathered behind him, their hearts pounding louder than the howling winds outside. "If it's like the storm, it could pass," Anna said, though her uncertain tone betrayed her brave facade. She was afraid of the unknown lurking just outside the darkness that had already consumed so many lives before theirs. "Or it could be worse," Jacob added grimly. "Keep the lantern lit. Don't let the shadows take your strength." The flickering light became a lifeline, anchoring them against the encroaching darkness. The people worked together to gather anything they could find as makeshift weapons. Chairs, pots, anything solid. The boy watched wide-eyed, a fragile spark of hope remaining alive within him as the thudding intensified. It was impossible to shake the feeling that their moment of truth was upon them. Their unity began to form a shield, a promise that they wouldn't go down without a fight. The door creaked under the pressure from outside, the sound echoing through the shelter like a drumbeat to their rising fear. "What's out there?" the boy whispered, clutching Anna's arm, seeking reassurance. Jacob raised an eyebrow, eyes narrowing. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." And with that, they turned their focus to the door. The thuds grew louder, reverberating off the walls. A gust of wind shrieked through the cracks. The night felt alive, vibrating with the promise of something terrible yet determined. Then, just as they braced themselves for what was about to emerge, the door slammed open. They gasped collectively, hearts racing, ready for whatever came next. The door flung open with a force that sent snow swirling into the warm glow of the cabin. The villagers gasped, and Jacob positioned himself tighter against a nearby wall, muscles tense like coiled springs. Framed in the doorway stood a figure, a man, just as ragged as Jacob, but bulkier and menacing, eyes glinting like ice. "You think you can just ignore the storm?" he growled, his breath forming frosty clouds in the air. "You think you're safe here?" The group instinctively pressed closer together, a protective barrier against the unknown threat. Mrs. Bradley clutched her husband's arm, her eyes wide with fear, while the boy clutched Anna tighter, trembling like a leaf in a brisk wind. Jacob swallowed hard but took a step forward. "We mean you no harm. We're just looking for shelter like you." The intruder scoffed, his laughter echoing against the walls, cold and hollow. "Shelter? You think it's that easy? The outside world is death. And we aren't alone out there." You'll get no warmth from me. Who are you? Jacob challenged, his voice steadier than he felt. Name is Reese, the man said, taking a hesitant step inside, finally leaving the storm behind him. I've seen what's happening. What's coming. And it's not just a storm this time. Then what is it? Sarah demanded, stepping up beside Jacob, defiance shining through her apprehension. Reese's eyes darted to the door. Wolves. And worse. They don't just howl to scare you. They hunt. You think the blizzard will kill you? No, it's the creatures in the dark you need to fear. The real predators. A chill ran through the cabin, colder than the gusts outside. Sounds of howling echoed in the distance, reinforcing Reese's warning. Oliver turned pale, the color draining from his face. The boyish grip on Anna's arm tightened, his small fingers trembling. What do you mean, predators? Jacob pressed, brow furrowed. The tension felt palpable, the weight in the room growing heavier with each heartbeat. They hunt in packs, Reese explained, voice lowering. The moment you lose hope, you become their prey. I barely survived this last storm, and I'm telling you the truth. If they come here, they will take everything. The villagers exchanged anxious glances, doubt creeping in. How could they fight against such odds? In their eyes were questions that all seemed to echo the same thought. Were they safe at all? Suddenly, a howl pierced the air, sending cold dread racing through the group. Jacob's heart raced in his chest, the words from Reese striking a familiar chord as if they were somehow premonitions. Everyone, Jacob shouted, rallying his scattered thoughts. We can't panic. We need a plan. We need to work together to protect what we have. We don't know what those things are out there. Could be stories, just tales to scare children, Oliver said, though his voice wavered. That's where you're wrong, Reese cut in, eyes narrowing. They're more real than the fear inside you, and they slice through any doubt or hesitation. They hunt the lost. Jacob took a deep breath, steadying himself. That means we need to stick together. We survived the storm, now let us survive the night. The weight of shared fear began to transform into a flicker of resolve as the villagers stood a little taller, gathering their courage. They could no longer solely rely on the flickering lantern. They needed a flicker of spirit to light their way as the howls grew closer. The cabin felt more like a fortress, and Jacob caught a glimpse of something powerful building within each of them. Unity, sparked by their desperation. But just as they made a pact to stand together, a deafening crash echoed from the back of the cabin, the sound of wood splintering against the relentless night. What was that? Anna cried, eyes wide. Jacob turned, his chest tightening. Get ready. It looks like the night has decided to bring the fight to us. And as the group braced against the wall, hearts pounding in sync once more, a dark figure loomed in the shadows, ready to challenge everything they held dear. What would they face next? Would their unity be enough to confront the growing threat lurking just beyond the door? The room exploded into chaos as the dark figure loomed closer, shadows dancing ominously around it. Sarah's heart raced, her instincts screaming to protect everyone huddled within the fragile sanctuary. Stay behind me, Jacob shouted, positioning himself at the forefront, a wall of determination against the unknown. Who are you? Reese yelled, fists clenched and ready to fight. But the figure stepped forward, illuminated by the flickering light, revealing a frightened woman clutching a child. Relief poured over Sarah like warm sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Please, we're not dangerous, the woman cried, her voice trembling. We just need shelter. The atmosphere shifted, the initial tension ebbing as soft murmurs filled the room. Jacob glanced around, uncertainty mixing with hope. Primal instincts of fear and compassion danced within the hearts of every villager. Come in, Sarah called, motioning for them to enter. As the newcomers stepped inside, Sarah's eyes met the child's frightened gaze. A flicker of recognition passed between them, an understanding born from shared hardship and vulnerability. The boy, barely 10, clung to his mother, and Sarah felt a swell of protectiveness pull her closer. Thank you, the woman stammered, brushing snowflakes from her hair, her cheeks flushed with cold. I'm Lisa, and this is Caleb. Where's your family? Anna asked gently, kneeling beside Caleb. We got separated in the storm, Lisa replied, tears shimmering in her eyes. I thought we were done, for we heard whispers of danger out here. The wolves. At the mention of wolves, the room fell silent, fear shadowing every face. The howling echoed outside, a reminder of the threats they faced. Don't worry, you're safe with us, Jacob assured them, his voice strong yet warm, like a beacon cutting through the darkness. Sarah squared her shoulders, the urgency of their situation wrapping around her. We need to band together. This storm isn't just snow. It's a test, and if we falter, we're lost, she said, meeting each gaze, igniting the flicker of hope they so desperately needed. With newfound resolve, they huddled together, a united front against the frigid terror beyond the walls. Caleb, sensing the weight in the air, took a small step toward Oliver, who knelt beside him, offering a reassuring grin. I believe we can survive this, Oliver said earnestly. Jacob's voice filled the silence, steady and clear. If we're going to protect ourselves, we have to think strategically. We've got limited resources, but we have each other. We can't just wait for the storm to pass. Agreed, Sarah replied, eyes lighting up with determination. We can use furniture to barricade the doors. Let us bolster our defenses, and if it comes down to it, we'll fight together. A chorus of nods rippled through the group. They began moving as a team, pushing tables and chairs against the door, cobbling together a barrier that felt both fragile and invincible. The warmth of camaraderie coalesced around them, igniting the flickers of hope into a steady flame. Just then, the screams of howling wind filled their ears, brewing an electric tension. Keep an eye on the windows, John called, glancing nervously toward the shadows moving beyond the glass as the villagers settled into their positions. Sarah caught a glimpse of her children, eyes wide with fear but shining with bravery. In that moment, she felt the weight of every choice she had ever made and every trial they had overcome. They had shared laughter and tears. They had forged a family from despair. Suddenly, a loud crash jolted them all forward, the door shuddering violently against the barricade. The villagers gasped, instinctively reaching for each other, breathing as one. Hold strong, Jacob commanded, pushing against the barricade with newfound fervor. The howls grew louder, the storm outside more sinister, but within the walls, a profound understanding began to bloom. They weren't just a collection of strangers. They were a community woven together by hardships and hope. Each heart beat with a rhythm of solidarity, realizing they could not merely survive but thrive through the fury of nature and the threats lurking beyond. I believe in us, Caleb shouted, his small voice cutting through the fear. Yep. Oliver joined in, a fire igniting in his chest. We're not giving up. That moment forged a pact between them all, a promise that wouldn't be easily broken. They could face whatever fears awaited outside, as long as they stood together. As the howling winds waged war against their small sanctuary, the villagers set their faces with determination, their bonds stronger than any storm. Sarah felt warmth envelop her. This wasn't just a fight against the cold. It was a fight for everything they believed in. With courage igniting their spirits, they braced themselves together, united against the looming night outside. As the door rattled fiercely, a new strength surged within them. They were ready, and in that powerful moment, silence crept back in, whispering of possibilities, echoing in the hearts of those brave enough to embrace their fate. They would confront the storm together, every howl a challenge, every gust a reminder that they were no longer alone. The dawn would come, and with it, perhaps something beautiful would emerge from the ashes of their struggle. A true community, resilient, interconnected, full of life and light against whatever darkness dared to encroach again. With unified hearts, they prepared for whatever might next emerge from the shadows, ready to transform not just their winter, but their lives and their bonds forever. Now it's time for you to join the ranks of those who believe in community stories like this. You need to subscribe now to keep up with more exclusive tales. Leave a like right away so we can keep bringing you this incredible content. Comment down below about how you felt as the community came together. Share this inspiring video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.